Welcome to Oregon Voters Digest, the program that brings forward the social and political issues that are important to people living here in the Pacific Northwest. And now, your host, Bruce Broussard.
Welcome again to this segment of the Oregon Voters Digest. I'm Bruce Broussard, your host. Well, folks, as you know, we're right in the midst of it. We got 2 years before the presidential election. We got 2 years before a number of elections. But we've already got one brand from a national standpoint. In all due respect, the media has done that. And in all due respect, that they brought Donald Trump, from New York. That's what it was all about. That was the whole political deal. And that's the thing that sort of confuses me even today. The fact of the matter is that media crew now, from the national media aspect of it, they knew Donald way back when. They were always partnering, buddy routine. And all of a sudden, we're in the presidential race. And I'll be right up front with it. We got the right guy for the job, in all due respect. Because the fact of the matter, we got issues in this country, and we needed leadership. And in fact, that's exactly what the people said. Remember that, folks. The people said point blank, we got a swamp down there. We got to clean the swamp, and we need a leadership. And right up front with you, when we had that presidential election, all of a sudden he said, hey, he volunteered. He said he volunteered. He wasn't drafted. He volunteered for the job. And so as a result of that, we got him, and right up front, the door is open. We're talking to all the issues, and it's just fantastic. So anyway, we could spend the rest of the day, or maybe another couple hours or something, on this issue, because my guest right here is sort of like right in the mix of it all. I met this young man some years back. In fact, I tried to recruit him in the Marine Corps, but we ended up we interviewed, and he was just about ready to get into this situation here, and he just wanted to get into politics and whatever. He was in the real estate business. I remember that aspect of it, and at the time, he was married and kids and whatever, but it's like anything else, that's a tough job. We talked about that a little bit. And here he is today. He's still got that passion. He's still committed. I think I still remembered when I asked him to, I said, hey, you're going to get in this business? Because that's where I was. I run every season. I win in the primary. And that's the other thing I will tell you. You never lose in that business. You win in the primary. So anyway, I shared with him. I said, well, look, if you're going to get in this business, make sure you put something in the front of your name. And he ran for the Senate. He ran for the U.S. Senate seat. And I tell you, right there in Washington, that was awesome. So I commend him for that peace aspect of it. But now I've been tracking him and whatever, and so this was an opportune time, especially now the timing is right, an opportune time to bring him on the table, despite the fact that he's from the state of Washington. This is Vanport, if you will. This is Vancouver, Portland kind of a deal. And so the bottom line is that I thought it would be an opportunity here to get him to give us a sort of an up-to-date on his passage and the time that he's been involved in the process, and it's hard to find good leadership. And right up front with you, in today's time, you got to be a hardcore person to get involved in this piece. It's not a simple task. You can't just buy the job. And you can't buy the job. You got to either be real, or in all due respect, you'll be totally exposed. Okay, point blank. So I'm sort of proud of the fact that I've tracked him, and I was kind of like a part of the commitment to get him going, and I feel good about that. And I'm gonna take credit for it too, for that matter. So what we're gonna do today is that there was an issue here, as you note, in the Portland metropolitan area as it relates to law enforcement. And that's always been an issue around the country. But the fact of the matter is we've got this issue here in the state of Oregon and Washington, but I'd still say more of Oregon. And so consequently, we've got it just recently we've been having, all around the country, we've been having issue of protesting and this, that, and the other. So the key is that who's the manager? Who are the leadership that can communicate with whatever and try to find out where do we go from here? So with that, I'm not going to spend too much more time in that, but the bottom line is that I'm just going to interview Joy. I'm just going to introduce Joy and just have him sort of give us a little background in terms of how you got into the business, so to speak, and along the road, what were some of the things, some of the pluses, some of the minuses? I've seen the national stuff routine. I saw the California stuff. I've been really tracking you big time. But I want you to spend the time and share with the viewing public just bring us up to date, and then maybe talk to us. Then we can just get into in this Tribune article behind the latest Portland cop controversy. Ryan Lee, they had the whole issue, whatever. Okay, can we do it that way?
Sure, whatever you want.
It's up to you. Let's talk.
Yeah.
Talk. Talk about Joy.
My name's Joey Gibson. Founder of Patriot Prayer. Pretty hated in Portland, but also respected too. I have a lot of my supporters are from Portland, ironically. And so one of the reasons why I got into this, well, the main reasons, a lot of people know this, is because people are getting beat up in the streets without any protection from the police. And so that's what made me get into it. But the other thing too that people don't understand is that I really wanted people to stop with the conformity. It's okay to be different. It's okay to say things that aren't, very popular. And one of the most amazing things was to kind of show the group think in these cities. Portland, there's a lot of pressure to conform to the ideology. If you don't conform to that ideology, they'll ostracize you. So there's a lot of people who pretend that they're part of the Portland culture. They pretend that they accept it and stuff. But at the end of the day, deep down in their hearts, they're just kind of going along with what everyone else is telling them to do. I think that there's a lot of people who, another interesting thing is there's a lot of people who pretend to hate me. Like it's the cool thing to do right now, but they don't hate me. There's a lot of people that when they are separated from the group and they're talking to me individually, one-on-one, there's a lot of respect and they treat me with respect. But as soon as other people kind of join in, then they change their tone, they change their attitude. And it's been crazy because all I've wanted to do is promote freedom and God, and that my message has been very simple and clear from the beginning to the point where it makes people suspicious. I'm not joking.
I heard that.
It's crazy. And so it's been very important for me to keep my message very positive because I wanted people who are actually going to research into what's happening to me.
Okay.
And then they go to my speeches and they see that I'm always preaching about love and like real tolerance. Not just tolerant because of someone's skin color. I'm saying tolerance about everything. Tolerant of people who think differently, people who believe differently. So it's been important for me to make sure that I never have hate speech and I always speak out of love. So that way, like I said, when people do their research, there's a lot of people who've started to support me because they hear I'm some white supremacist. And so people who are willing to do their homework, their research, curiosity, right? They look into me and then they start by researching me and they ended up going to my speaches, and my speeches, they start to listen to me speak and they're like, there's no way this guy's a white supremacist. Like there's no way. I mean, if I'm a white, even, I'm brown, but not only that, I got to be one of the worst white supremacists ever because I'm like preaching true love. I believe what Jesus preached, and I believe that that's the answer to our country. And so it's been pretty crazy and I guess amazing to see the meltdowns for nothing. Really.
Let's talk a little bit about when did you get into Portland? I mean, we were having issues in Portland with reference to protesting and this, that, and the other by the others in there. It was Antifa, right?
Yeah, Antifa, anarchists, communists.
Right, that kind of a deal.
Yeah.
That's right. And we were really having some major problems here in the Portland area.
Yeah,
and then
Seattle too.
In Seattle too. So when did you get into Portland, and what was it? What was the issue at that point?
So my first time going to Portland, what happened was there's the annual Rose Parade. What they were going to do is the Multnomah County Republicans were entering into the parade, and they were going to have Trump flags.
Right.
And so Antifa started sending threats to the people organizing the march, saying that they need to be out, they need to be booted. And Antifa threatened and said, if you don't boot them, then they're going to come in with hundreds of people and force them out, which would be dangerous and bad for all the kids and stuff. So what happened was the organizers actually ended up canceling the whole thing. So everyone was really upset at Antifa for that. So when I saw that, this is the kind of stuff that I want to push back against, because I felt like no one was pushing back against them. Everyone was too afraid. So I was like, I'll do it. So they canceled the whole parade, and I was like, well, we'll do our own little march then. So with Trump flags. So it's like no matter what they do, we're always going to come back and do it. Right? No matter how much they try to ruin people's free speech, we'll come in and make sure we do it. So that was my first time coming into Portland, and then I just kept coming back in to expose them, kept coming back in to kind of show, if you show up in Portland to pray, there'll be 1,000 guys in mass who want to kill you. And the cool thing, though, is the goal was for the country to begin to hate them. That was the goal, both on the left and the right, to kind of see who they are and what they're about. So that's why we want them on film. We want them speaking on film. We want interactions of me speaking with them on film, and we win every single time. They want to silence me. They don't want me on film. They don't want my message out there. I want their message out there so the world can see it.
That's why that's why we have you here.
Yeah. And so that was
that first one.
That was like April of 2017.
There you go.
And then
That's right.
yeah, we kept coming back in. And over time, they've slowly, their numbers have dwindled more and more and more.
Now, on that same point, then, you had a permit, right? You had a federal permit when you participated with the Republican Party.
So no, there was no permit for that because we didn't need one. We were just staying on the sidewalks.
Okay.
Now we came back June 4th, 2017.
Okay.
Huge rally in Terry Strunk Plaza, about 1,000 people, and that was with the permit.
That was with the permit.
Yeah.
And you went through the federal government.
Federal government, yeah.
No problem on that piece.
I felt like I can trust them more because there's less politics.
Ah.
Right.
Okay,
They're not ran by the mayor.
Okay.
So that's why we went in there, and it was a great rally. It was a great experience, and there's probably, I don't know, maybe 2,000, 3,000 Antifa at the park next to it, Chapman Square, I think that's what it's called.
Okay.
And they ended up clearing the park, and they found tons of weapons. There's people from all over the West Coast, came up from the Bay Area, all over Oregon, Seattle, and they came in specifically. They were hoping the police would stand down, which is what usually happens. And everyone was blown away because the police ended up clearing the park because Antifa were throwing objects and bricks at the police, so they cleared the park. And the police are still getting sued for that too. So, but I think that the FBI, at a national level, I think people, even all the way up to Trump was watching. He saw what had happened. I know that for a fact, and it woke him up, and it woke up other people who are in positions of power about how dangerous Antifa really is. And so, that was my goal, to keep doing that. So we wake up the country. Hopefully, people in positions of power will begin to push back and start doing things, kind of under the table.
I might add too, at this point in time, when I think when I interviewed you, that particular time during that little area, Joe Walsh, remember Joe? You know Joe.
Yeah.
And I know Joe. He's former Navy.
He's Veterans for Peace.
Yeah, he's Navy. He's Navy.
Yeah.
Former Navy. And bottom line, because when I ran for county commissioner, he was at the county all the time over there. And so constantly, whenever I do my 3-minute piece, he was there. And I was trying to do the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I was doing that piece.
For your 3 minutes?
Yeah, for my 3 minutes. And Joy didn't want to do it. But anyway, we did invite Joy. Because I invited.
He didn't want to do
Joe,
it though.
Yeah, I invited you and Joe.
Yeah.
To come up and you just sit down and talk about this piece, trying to figure out what the deal was, what was on his head, and so he just didn't want to do it at the last minute.
He was
said
too
no.
afraid of people getting mad at him.
Yeah. Well, as far as I'm concerned, we're still open. Are you still open?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay,
anytime.
good. So
Yeah,
Joe, you got that?
I went to the city council. I want to say something about him. I went to the city council to speak out against human trafficking and pedophilia.
Right.
And he stood in the back, just conformed to everybody else, and started fake coughing, just to so that they can't hear me speak. The guy, I respect him, whatever, but he needs to think for himself, be an independent person. If he wants to come on here and debate me and talk about his problems with me, that's the best way to solve issues.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he's just playing into the thing where it's just like divide and conquer, divide and conquer. Don't let us come together. Don't let us speak. Keep us separated so we can continue to hate each other.
Right.
So I would challenge him. He should come on this show. He can yell at me, scream at me all he wants, and put on a show for everyone to see.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll be more popular.
Yeah. Well, as you know, I'm looking at that bottom line. What can we do? Because in all due respect, our kids can't go to the parks anymore like they normally do. The senior citizens can't go. We got some tough times right now. And that's one of the reasons why we're sort of like doing this particular show. Now we've got a new. Let's get down to City Hall and Wheeler. As far as our
my favorite guy.
Yeah, let's talk about him a little bit. Now, when you first started getting involved in the city piece, when you started getting involved in the city, did they reach out to you? Did the mayor reach out to you? Because he's our leader.
Before June 4th, 2017, I met with him. And
you met with him?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he said he just wants the rally to be as safe as possible. And I said, well, why don't you tell the city that I'm not a white supremacist, I'm not racist, and I don't have hate speech?
Right.
That would help a lot.
Right. What did he say?
He put his head down and he looked down for a second, and he's like, well, I'm sorry I did that. He's like, but just so you know, it came from Willamette Weekly. I said, I don't care. You don't repeat lies just because you're the leader of this city. I was like, if you want it to be safe, then you need to come out and say, I disagree with Joe's politics, but he's not racist. There's no evidence of me being racist. None. Right. And so if he was a good leader, if he actually cared about the city and the safety of the city, and he didn't want riots, then he would have come out and said that. He said he would. He said he would come out and fix it, but he didn't. The problem is I've never heard him speak the truth.
Yeah.
He lies and lies and lies. And so I don't care about your politics. I can agree with a lot of things that people on the left. What I hate is liars. How can we solve? Why don't you just stand up for what you believe in and be honest?
Right, exactly.
Be a man.
Wherever, however way it falls.
Yeah.
I agree with you on that, because in all due respect, that's something that I've called him many times. I ran against him when he was running for mayor.
Okay.
And I've called him many times. He would never respond to his calls.
Yeah.
He would never meet me face to face on the show.
Yeah.
Because I'm not the behind the scene kind of a person, because this is too serious to be seen there.
He also will throw anyone under the bus to his benefit. He completely disrespected the Portland police. He disrespected Lieutenant Nia, because he put Lieutenant Nia in charge of communicating with me, and the Portland police.
He did.
Yes, as a Portland commissioner, Portland police released text messages from Lieutenant Nia to the top aide of Mayor Wheeler, and it was constantly, they would ask him questions, right? Then he would ask me the question. I would give him the answer. Then he would relay that answer to them. And so
the mayor knew about all this stuff.
He knew they had information, and now the mayor says, well, I knew he was communicating with them, but I didn't know it was this bad. But it's constant. Like, the lieutenant's job was to get information out of me, and I volunteered a lot of information that I felt was appropriate for them to know, because anything I told him I knew was going to go, everyone would know, right? The entire police force, the mayor, everybody.
That's why you wanted to do it,
yeah. So it's communication,
right?
And I tell you, he was very polite to me, and it actually made me feel bad to say no to him, right? Because that's what you do as a police officer when you're working with people, right?
Talking about Nia now.
Yeah, Nia, and like, I mean, even if I was a criminal, even if I was like some drug dealer, he's still gonna be polite to me to get information out of me so they can build a case, right? That's just the way police work is,
right.
But we had a respectful relationship. I trusted him for the most part. He trusted me. So he knew that if I said I'm going to be somewhere, I'm going to be there. If I say I'm going to leave, he knows he can count on me leaving. So that's the type of relationship that we had. And it was just two men being respectful and working together. You know, I talk about this all the time, like two generals fighting in a war against each other. They need to communicate. They need to have conversations. And, you know, they're not going to be, I mean, it's amazing to me. It kind of shows the culture in Portland is just hate police, all that you can. They're trying to undermine them. And Wheeler, as a police commissioner, is trying to undermine the entire police force, and he's destroying the morale. I don't know why these guys even work in Portland. I mean, if I were them, I would go somewhere where people don't spit on you, people don't yell at you, people don't scream at you, and you have a mayor who's going to respect you and respect your job. I mean...
Well, you know, I'm thinking about now. Let's talk about this Portland Tribune. Now, what about the media? Did they ever approach you? And how did they approach you when you first came into Portland?
Oh, they were eating me up. They love to hate on me.
Would they sit down and chat with you at all?
It depends, you know. Like Willamette Weekly, they have a
They
have a girl named Katie. She sat down with me for a while. Willamette Weekly though, they don't.
They got their own. Yeah.
They're just biased, and they're into the whole sex thing and like all that stuff. But
that's how they sell their papers, you know.
Yeah,
the negative stuff.
The whole back page thing. They're all into the back page, the human trafficking. So anyway, yeah, I mean, Portland Tribune. I mean, any reporter would love to sit down with me and talk to me. In Portland, that is.
Yeah, right.
Because they love, it's juicy for them.
Yeah, right.
Like that's the hot thing right now is to do hit pieces on me.
Right.
I just don't necessarily want to waste my time with them.
But tell me though, when you think about this stuff, I'm looking at the article, and I got a copy of his. Is Chinese American former whistleblower turned expert. This is the article that was done in regards to that whole issue, right? You got me?
Yeah.
And then I'm looking at a lot of the comments, and basically Nick Butnick. You know, everybody knows Nick Butnick. I know him too. He still owes me something. But the bottom line is that he makes reference to you, a right-wing organizer with the group Patriot Prayer. Where's that come from? From him.
Heavy.
Did he talk to you about this piece of? You gave a little introduction in terms of who you were and what you represented. Does this represent you?
No. And also in the first paragraph, it talks about how the police were connecting with white supremacist groups.
Yeah,
or whatever.
The man behind what some left-leaning activists portray as a pattern by Portland police of aiding right-wing white supremacists at protests is a Chinese American whistleblower. I know you're Chinese American.
No, I'm Japanese American. He's Chinese American.
Oh, Chinese, yeah.
Neha is Japanese.
Well, you got to get me. I'm going through.
Yeah, Neha is Japanese, and don't forget the police chief is black.
Yep, that's right.
So
you get the whole minority. I mean, wow.
And don't forget that, you know, I think one of the things that irritate people in Portland more than anything is that the people who support Patriot Prayer. The people who come into Portland, we're so diverse. We have so many different colors. We even have members of the LGBT community because we don't care if you're gay. I don't care. I have way bigger things to worry about than that. And it bugs people. And then you have, 500 or whatever, just all white men yelling and screaming at us, calling us racist. It's unbelievable. I don't know. Have you ever been called racist?
Yes.
By white people?
Oh yeah.
Is that crazy?
Sometimes I get it by black people sometimes.
Yeah.
Because of my stance,
Right.
But
yeah.
as far as I'm concerned, I'm in the same mindset aspect of it. It's about what's right.
Yeah.
It's about what's right.
Right,
it's about family rights. You got my point?
Yeah.
And having served a couple of tours up in Nam, routine, I fought for these folks to do these kinds of things. You know what I'm saying? So I challenged them, from the standpoint of I'm always asked that background, and that's why I respect you so well. And the fact of the matter is, I've tried to get them on the show to say, okay, fine, what's on your mind?
Yeah.
What's your problem?
So they would just show up with masks on?
They show up. I say, look, run for office.
Yeah.
And if you got something to say, then at the end of the day, if you win, if you can convince enough folks that, I've been running for years. Maybe I'm just a little too conservative, you know what I mean? But the fact of the matter is, I say what's on my mind, and I respect the policy. Yeah. I respect the rules and whatever.
Sure.
You got my point? And then that's the way you do things. That's what America's all about.
Yeah.
That's what freedom is all about.
Yeah.
And we've constantly been talking about the whole issue of assimilation for all of us, for that matter. And regardless of the color aspect of it, we're all Americans.
Yeah.
But but for some strange reason, we want to keep this divide thing going. But now it really is a major concern. Now it's not just about black and white anymore. Everybody's got a tribe now. Everybody's running all over the place. That's the problem. Everybody wants to do that piece. But we got a system of government here that say you can run for office. So run for office. Now, again, let's follow up on that piece. Now, I noticed that this was were you there that night at the church?
I wish I was on an airplane.
I got you.
I landed and my phone just started beeping nonstop because it had happened when I was in the air.
Right.
So people started sending me links and videos, and I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So what? 300 people showed up.
Yep.
For what?
Yep.
Because newsflash, Gibson was being polite to a police officer.
Yeah. Jesus.
So they all show up and
Jesus.
yeah, and I guess from what I heard from people that went there to speak on my behalf, or to defend me and defend the police, every single time they started speaking, the whole crowd started hissing, and so just trying to. What they don't want is they don't want a healthy debate. If they want a healthy debate, let someone speak, hear what they say, and then come back with something else, right? But instead they hiss and make sounds because they're so afraid. They're so afraid of just people with different point of views. It's groupthink. That's why when I march through Portland, I always when I see random people and they're like staring at us, I always say, "Don't conform. Stop conforming to the city. Do you really like the way the city is? First of all, when I go and speak in the prisons, I meet, I'll sit down in the room full of like 40. Mostly, most of them are there because of gang crimes, and I had a black gentleman tell me how much he hates conservatives. And talking about how they just want to, keep the money all to themselves and all this stuff and everything. And I asked him, I said, hey, are you happy? Like, I asked him what neighborhood he was in. And I said, do you like the way things are going right now? Do you like it? Do you like the area where you live? And he's like, no, I hate it. Like, it's really bad. We get no help and stuff. And I was like, who runs that? Democrats, right? And I'm not here to say all Democrats are bad, but I'm just saying what we have right now is everyone wants to pick a side, and no matter what, your side's always right. And that opened his eyes to where, like, if he doesn't like the way things are right now, why does he keep voting Democrat? Same thing with, like, in Seattle, they did an interesting research into the voters. So if there's a bill on there where it doesn't have a Republican or Democrat next to it, an R or D next to it, so you just have to read it and decide if you want to vote for it or against it. Usually, like 80% of the time, Seattle will vote conservative, but they don't know it's conservative. But they read it and they use their brains and like, I like this. Oh, I can spend less money, right? Oh, okay, yeah, I like that. I like to save my money, right? That's conservative values. And so, but if there's an R next to the name or a D next to the name, 92% of the time they're going to vote for the D. Yeah. No matter what. Yeah. So that's what it is. It's
once they identify an area, it sticks, and then the media all falls in it. You know what I'm saying? That's basically what it is. And a good example of that, like I said, I'm always trying to relate to that last race that I ran. Aspect of it. This lady who won the seat, district number 2, she's from India. Okay.
Okay.
I mean, she knows nothing about the district.
Right.
She can't walk in a crowd of homeless folks
This is
and
for
try to
county?
figure out for the county. I mean, you know, the fact remains, I was out there knocking on doors and dealing with the folks that are on the streets, looking for veterans, if you will, to try to get them out and get to their benefits and whatever. But the fact of the matter is, the way media just basically went and supported her totally. The monies, all the trade unions that I knew, that I was basically working with to get jobs, aspect of it, they 100% of them just voted for her. And because of the fact that, well, Bruce is a Republican anyway, so you know that's just the way it's going to go.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of a deal. So I'm feeling you where you're coming from, and that's why we're doing this particular piece. And I wanted to make sure that that the people see who you are for what you are, and at the same time, Wheeler needs to know that too. Now he's and I've said this on the show on many occasions, and I've got Richard right here aspect of it. You know, if you bought something like this, you just don't buy people anymore today. It's a whole different mindset today. It's to be a leader. To be a leader, that you got to have something, and you've got to know about that particular terrain. You've got to know something about that energy.
Sure.
You just can't walk up and say, "Well, well, in the old days it was just the lobbyists, you know. I got the money. I hire you. Go out there and give them the money,
Sure.
and get them elected." And that's where we're transitioning out of that. We're getting out of it. We got a whole new day aspect of it. So consequently, that's where we are today. Unfortunately, the leadership aspect of it. So when I look at the mayor Wheeler. One of the biggest mistakes he made when he ran for mayor, was that he didn't have a general election. See, he basically bought it, and he had no runoff. And I kept telling him, I called his folks and said, no, he needs a runoff. The rationale, he learned a little bit more about what the city's all about. So he got there, then it was just an OJT. And I'm just saying to him, that's his problem. He's trying to learn the job.
Yeah.
While people are in need, if you will, to solve the problems.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? That's why he couldn't talk to you as well as he did.
Yeah.
He's not out there in the streets.
Yeah.
He's not talking. I mean, I really feel, to a certain degree, I feel sorry for him, but he's got a family. He can't even identify the first lady. I mean, you know how normally first ladies do. They get a little something on, maybe getting the flowers out or this, that, and the other. But he doesn't get into that kind of deal right now. It's just an unfortunate situation. But now let's talk about Joanne. Now we got Joanne Hardesty. I've been knowing Joanne for a long time, like I said before.
Okay.
Now she basically she jumped on Joe Walsh that day at City Hall about basically saying the title, the white guys are coming up here just taking over the mic and not giving someone else the opportunity. Remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
She ran that piece up, and then she ran with that. But there was no one there, and I'm saying now Joanne knew what's going. She knows what's going down.
Yeah.
You know, but the bottom line, she's the mayor today. She's the mayor. She's got the 3 votes. She's got the other 2 women.
Yeah.
I mean, she took an issue. She took an issue before she even got into the seat.
Right.
And turned it around.
Yeah.
And the mayor had his votes. That was it. And then she came back on this other piece, and she basically passed some things. But there's no one now in city council. The mayor is not in a position to challenge her, and the only reason being because of the background. He doesn't know how to share with her and say, "Bang, this is why we do this." Any thoughts on that?
I think that another problem. So Joanne Hardesty, for whatever reason, if she pushes for something, the people of Portland will push with her. They'll put pressure. You know, she's the one that led to get rid of the task force, joint task force, and Wheeler didn't want to do that. And that was a really interesting thing to me.
But he didn't know how to do it.
No, he didn't know how to do it because he's not liked by the people. The people don't like him. He's hated by the left and the right and everyone in between.
And the media.
And the media. And I think that his problem is he doesn't speak the truth, and he's just not. Okay. Let's say you don't even know him. Okay, you know nothing about him. You don't even know he's the mayor. If you listen to him speak, it'll make you angry because of the look on his face. I don't know how to explain it. It's just there's something. He's got that weasel look to him, and no one wants to follow him. Basically, Joanne Hardesty, for whatever reason, to me she's an interesting character. I don't know a whole bunch about her. I've already seen her lie several times and use me as to kind of say I'm a white supremacist and stuff. But I think it's interesting that she has the people backing already that fast, and the Antifa support her. You know, they want her to be the police commissioner, which is really interesting. And so,
really, but what's the definition? I mean, the concerns of people in Portland are very, very much concerned about the protesting. Okay, Before you got it, the protesting.
It costs
They were
some
just
money.
tearing, and it was costing money. You can't go downtown. You can't go out and have a cup of coffee. I mean, it's all kinds of. You can't go out in the evening and have a. So my point is that, and she knows that. You got my point. So I would hope that she understands. Okay, she's got access to the ear, but the key is that she got to understand what those issues are. She got to solve the issues. Like for instance, I was going to ask the question: has she reached out to you?
No.
She hasn't reached out to you.
No.
I mean, I would think that would be one of the things as a leader I would do if I've been sitting up there. I'd take the excuse me, the person who yells the most, who's the center point. I say, hey, look, come on in here. I want to talk to you. In fact, I'd like to do it more public than anything else.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, if it's something I wouldn't want to embarrass you, at first we'd talk over here, just to make sure that these are the issues that I'm interested in. We talked it. Now, how do you feel you can help me and vice versa? Let me listen to what your side of the deal is.
Because they're not in there to solve problems. They're in there to distract because the city's falling apart right now. They're saying Gibson, waving this in front of everybody, saying white supremacy is a big problem. That's why everything they talk about right now, white supremacy, is if there's some surge of it. They're not around. I would know, trust me. Okay, I get called a white supremacist all the time, so white supremacists would be coming to me. They're not coming to me. They don't even contact me privately. I've seen maybe 2 or 3 of them 2 years ago that showed up. That's the last time, so that I know of. And see, when I first started coming to Portland, Antifa would send me pictures of guys who were at my march, and then they would show another picture of him at some Nazi march or whatever. And so I called them out. They never showed up again because they don't want to be called out. So I called them out, and they don't show up. And so now they're just saying white supremacy nonstop, white nationalism nonstop, even though the leader's not white and the leader's never said anything remotely racist. Because I don't have a racist bone in my body, not one. Like I believe. Like I can equally hate people. I can equally love people and equally hate them regardless of their skin color. Because it's about what's on the inside. But what's happening is the city's falling apart. The homeless is out of control. The drug problem. The garbage is everywhere. The place stinks.
Oh, that's awesome.
The rising. It's too expensive to live in Portland. Everyone's moving out. And so I think that for them, I think that I'm a great way to distract everyone. And so I've really had to think about how I'm going to move forward. Because I want to make sure, I want to highlight these things that they're trying to hide. I want to highlight the homeless problem, the drug problem. I want to highlight the high property taxes, and I want to highlight the human trafficking and the pedophilia. Portland is the capital in the country for kids going missing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I think those are the things that we should be focusing on, and that's what scares them. And they know that I have a voice, and they know that if I start to focus on those things, it's going to be a disaster for them. Because no longer am I out trying to defend myself. I'm on the attack going after these politicians who refuse to clean up the city. And people on the left and right can't agree with these issues that they have in the city. So they need to go out there and do it. Another thing I want to start doing too is I've teamed up with it's called Going Home. His name's Mike Fesser. He's really respected. He used to be in the gang life. He's in Portland. What he does is he goes into the prisons. He has a classroom once a week, and he talks to the guys who are going to come out soon. And he has houses for them to move into when they get out, helps them find jobs, helps them find a new family. Those are the 3 things you need to stay out of the gang life.
Wow.
Because a lot of these guys don't have real families.
That's right.
Their family's gangs. So if we start to help him, help fundraise for him, help him get more money to do this, because he's getting no support from the city, but he's very successful, that's going to help with the gang violence. That's another thing too. We don't hear Wheeler ever talk about the gang violence. It's a problem, and these people in these bad neighborhoods are crying for help right now, and the media is not even covering it at all. And so the only time they care about black people is if a black person gets shot by a police officer. That's it. They don't care about their
solutions.
So that's the kind of stuff I want to start focusing on. Because I do have a voice and I do have a platform, and I think that it will scare Wheeler a lot if we start solving the problems that he's supposed to solve.
Well, on that particular note, like I said, when I first met you, we talked about the idea of running for office, and you ran for Senate, right?
Yeah.
Are you gonna run again? You got to run. You got to run again. I mean, right?
Well, see,
what you just shared with me, you got a platform. You got a platform.
Yeah.
You're talking about jobs. You're talking about dealing with issues that people relate to here in Portland, in the Northeast Portland corridor.
Yeah.
We lack the leadership right now from the county and the city, for that matter. You got me? Now, like I said, Joanne has opened up the door a bit now, see, because she's had a little. So I'm just saying, okay, fine. She can't go anywhere. She's a city councilman. Okay, Joanne, you've heard it. Would you have a problem with her sitting down here with you and just talking about the piece?
Would I have a problem?
Yeah.
No, I would sit down with anyone anytime.
I got you.
I'm not afraid of a conversation.
I know that.
A lot of people are for some reason. A lot of people are afraid to have that conversation. You know, it's funny. Wheeler had the you remember the resolution they did against white supremacy and alt-right groups? Do you know what I'm talking about? So they go up there and they have all these speakers talking about how hateful the right is, how hateful conservatives are, how hateful this, hate that, hate. And so I go up and I'm supposed to be the boogeyman or whatever, and I go up there and I read the description of love from 2 Corinthians 13.
Yeah.
And I talk about how everyone talks about hate all the time, but the answer is love. But we also have to admit the fact that hatred is not a right or left thing. It's a human thing. It's going to be in every single group, every single skin color, every single gender, every single sexuality. All of us have to struggle with it on a daily basis. And I said the only way we can truly solve the problem of hatred is if you stop acting like you're in some group that's immune to hate. They sat up there and just blamed conservatives for hatred nonstop. I've seen hatred. The worst hatred I've ever seen is from these activists on the streets on the left. Okay? Not normal people on the left. I'm saying these activists who will have no hate signs and they're assaulting me and spitting in my face with a sign that says no hate. You know, I've truly been preaching love. These guys never talk about love. They just talk about hate. That's it. They're obsessed with that word, hate. And I think that when you say it enough and you talk about it enough and then you act out of hatred, it just starts to fester and it starts to become a life of its own. And I've been to every single major city, okay, in the country. I've been to a lot of cities.
I know.
Both conservative, most of them are far left, liberal cities, and Portland is the most intolerant, most hateful city I've ever been to.
Really?
Ever, yes. And I have people that, you know, I know a guy who basically has been going around the world, going into violent extremist groups, like Taliban and other groups, and basically getting them to pacify. And so he's seen a lot of things in his life. Yeah. And he said Portland is the scariest city he's ever been to.
Really?
Spiritually, yeah. Not for the safety of him physically, because obviously he's been in war zones, but like he said, spiritually, the darkness has a grasp onto that city and it's making people hateful. If you it's groupthink, it's about conformity. And if you are going to go outside of that box, if you're going to be unique and special, which is what we need in this country, right? They're going to ostracise you, they're going to make fun of you, they're going to go after you, they're going to go to your house, they're going to, you know, they're going to slash your tires, they're going to threaten your families. You know what they do to people who are different? They'll sit out front of the house in a car across the street and they'll wait for your wife or your kids to come out and they'll take pictures and then they'll mail it to you. Pictures of your family leaving your house and mail it to you. They're so miserable inside, they want to make other people miserable. That's how they live their life on a daily basis. They've committed to finding people who think differently from them and make their lives as miserable as possible.
What can we do to start changing that, Joey?
I don't really know, except highlighting it and helping people understand what's going on. That was the thing that concerned me, is the more I learned about Antifa in the beginning, I learned that most of their work was behind the scenes. So you wouldn't know. So a lot of people were remaining silent because they would get threats in the mail. So you would never hear about it. So someone who started to get a voice, they would get the threats and they would disappear. I saw it when the movement started to pick up. I saw a lot of leaders in the beginning start to rise with me, right, in different areas on the West Coast, and then all of a sudden they would just disappear. And I would reach out to them and say, where have you been? What's going on? Every single time I got threats, I got to worry about my family, I got to worry about this. And I can't blame them for doing that, but at the same time, it's given them a huge win. It encourages them to continue to do that. And so that's why I wanted to bring them out on the streets. Then that was a manifestation of what's going on behind closed doors, so people can see how hateful these people really are.
You know of Cameron and McKelvey, right? you know those two guys. And I remember Cameron when he first came to town, so to speak, and he ran for office. You know what I mean? And he stopped. But my point is that he was trying to make he has a sense of leadership. The key is that, you just got to, you got to keep doing it, you got me? And you got to have an awesome platform. Because the man was trying to relate to homeless at one point in time, way back when, okay? And now today, all of a sudden, you don't know where he's at times. I mean, in fact, I got to get him.
Same thing with McKelvey. McKelvey left.
McKelvey left.
I don't think he can take the heat.
No, right. And he had a kid. See, he just had he had that baby. You know what I mean? He said, "Look, I got to get my wife out of here." See, and he's trying to. So that's why I'm asking you, what do we do? Where do we go from here? Now, where is the leadership? Who is the leadership of Antifa? I mean,
I don't think
I know
there's-
Joe. I know Joe Walsh. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna
Yeah.
ask Joe to come on, and Joe's got to come back to the table here.
Well, there's money coming in from somewhere. We see them wearing similar sweatshirts, similar clothes. We see their expensive signs. A lot of them, some of them live together. We know money's coming in. So that's probably the people who are kind of calling some of the shots. And I know for a fact that, people treat Antifa like it's just some loose thing. And it's kind of true. It is, in a way, just a bunch of kids, coming together. But there is some sort of control going on. For example, I know for a fact that somewhere along the way, someone made an order to not assault me, because after Berkeley, when I took that beating, nonviolent resistance, it destroyed the movement for Antifa. Completely destroyed them. They were rising and rising, getting so much momentum because of Charlottesville, and then that destroyed them. Because on national television across the entire country, even left-leaning media disavowed Antifa, which was what I was pushing for. So I think there is some sort of control, but the main thing, though, is to show. Here's what I'm showing people in Portland, especially. We'll go in there and we'll just demask a couple guys, and then all of Antifa just run because they're so afraid of being exposed.
Oh, the demasking. I mean,
Yeah.
you're talking about the guys with the hoods?
Yeah, we're doing a demasking campaign. So
Okay.
anytime liberals are having a rally or march, the Antifa always plants them inside and causes trouble. I have a lot of liberals who reach out to me. Okay, a lot. So and this is the thing is Antifa's hated by the left. They despise them. Listen, these people went to occupy ICE, right? They started their own little protest. They're staying there, a bunch of families there, normal liberals, right? And then over time, you see more and more Antifa coming in there with their masks on, and they start taking control. They start forcing people, they start threatening people, saying, you can't talk to the police. If you talk to the police, then, you're going to be ostracized. If you do this or do that. And they start controlling all the liberals. And the liberals were felt like, and even some of the business owners who are liberals were reaching out to me, asking me to do something about it because they've been calling Wheeler, and Wheeler did nothing about it.
Right,
so I made a decision to go in there and basically expose who they are, what they've been doing, right? And we got a live video, had like over 200,000 views. The news media was all over it, covering it and everything. And the next day, Wheeler says he's going to take it down. He's going to take down the Occupy ICE. Very next day, and he blamed it on me, which is fine, great. He blamed it on me because he said that with right-wing extremists going in there, it's not safe anymore.
He used that term.
Yeah, so they shut it down. We went back there again the night when they're going to kick him out, and the place was just disgusting. It was just such a mess. But anyways, my point is, one of these times we go down to another ICE protest. It wasn't Occupy ICE. This was like a couple weeks ago. We show up, mostly all normal liberals, and obviously there's a lot of liberals in Portland that don't have a very high opinion of me. But when we went in there, instantly people started taking their masks off because they didn't want to be targeted. One guy ran off with his mask. He was wearing a mask. He just ran. He started running down the block like Forrest Gump. And then another kid, he is a kid. He was young. Went up, just took his mask off. That was it. And what I was hoping was that as a young kid, he understands that he doesn't. I don't want him to be with these guys.
Right.
I don't want him growing up to being with these hateful punks who don't care about him. They just want to use him. So anyways, I had several liberals thank me after that, like messaging me on Facebook saying thank you, because they want to be able to rally, but they feel like they can't do it because Antifa keeps coming in. And Antifa does is they break the law and they make them look bad. That's what they used to do. The marches after Trump was elected, what happened is you had thousands and thousands of normal citizens protesting our president, which I think is, whether you like the president or not, I think the right to protest against him is a beautiful thing. So I'm all for that, because he's the most powerful man in our country, and we need to be able to have that right. What happened, though, is you get maybe 50 to 100 guys out of thousands of protesters who go around and start breaking stuff with bats, faces covered, and they make, that's all the media covers, and they make the liberals look bad. But the problem is the liberals are too afraid to stand up against Antifa. So we're the only group that's going in and literally out in the open just saying, no, we're done. We're not going to allow you run these streets.
With a mask on?
Yeah, we'll take their masks off.
You'll take their masks off?
Yeah.
You guys are not wearing any masks, are you?
No, I don't ever wear masks.
Right.
And so here's the problem, though. Here's when I realized I have a problem. So my last time I went in had like a normal huge march in Portland. It was a flash march, and we had several people show up on our side with faces covered, and they caused some problems. Wow. They weren't there for me, and they weren't there for anybody. They were there with the intent to commit crimes, and they did. There was some bad stuff that happened, and so I was upset. I had to take a step back. I'm like, I'm not doing this so we can be a bunch of criminals and thugs.
You told them that.
Yeah, I'm doing this to motivate, to inspire people. What we want to do is we want to stand up to bullies. We don't want to be bullies. That's the thing. Because and they try to paint me as a bully. I'm not. I'm the guy who I see an injustice. I'm gonna go after it. I'm gonna attack it. I'm gonna highlight it. I'm gonna get it on film and make sure the world sees.
Well, like I say, I think your definition of finding a solution to this problem is right on. I guess the other thing I was going to ask you about is when you see these folks, are most of these folks local?
A lot of them are from Vancouver.
The young people.
Of Antifa?
Yeah.
A lot of them are from Vancouver.
They're from Vancouver.
Yeah, and then they get mad at me saying, go back to Vancouver and stuff, but a lot of them are from Portland too. I mean, we have information on so many of them, where they live, who they associate with, and, a lot of the young kids, I don't want them to be afraid of us necessarily, but I want them to understand what they're walking into. It's the young ones that really upset me. They're being taken advantage of. They don't do their research. They truly believe, the young ones truly believe I'm racist because they don't do their research. The leaders, the people who are spreading the lies, they know I'm not racist, but they despise freedom. They despise God because a lot of them are communists, right? And so you can't be a Christian and you can't believe in freedom. That message destroys communism. So,
did they give you any flack in regards to trying to identify you with some of the negatives that were being thrown out when they had the so-called Good in the Hood March? Remember the Good in the Hood March, and they had this deal about, well, we're just going to tear it all up and all that kind of deal. And
who said that?
And it was basically they were getting mail.
Oh, by white supremacists. Yeah, that was fake.
Yeah.
That was fake. I mean, yeah, that's thing. It's like Jesse Smollett. Okay, if there were so many hateful bigots who want to beat up gay black men, why would he have to make up? Why would he have to fake it? Do you know what I'm talking about? Why would he have to hire two black men to beat him up?
Yeah.
This is the thing. Same thing right now. We have, I think, 20. They're saying there's about 20 attacks on the LGBT community in the last 2 weeks in Portland, and they're blaming Patriot Prayer and Proud Boys. But
really?
But the thing is only one of them have gone to the police, and the police said they're almost certain that she slipped on the ice when she was drunk and hit the back of her head.
Yep, I saw that one.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, if you're being attacked in Portland, you need to go to the police, and you need to make sure. A lot of people say, well, they're not going to do anything. We don't trust them. Listen, if you go to the police and you report a crime, okay, and they don't do anything, and the guy gets caught later on, the Portland police are going to be in big trouble. So you put the Portland police in a bad position. If they're trying to cover up for these people who hate gays or whatever, then you need to go and report and put them in that position. But I guarantee you it's not happening. I mean, if it is, I would be there to protest against that any day. You should have a right to be gay and not be attacked. 100%. Because I believe in freedom.
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, those are the rights, if you will. That's
Yes.
right. And the same thing about law enforcement. A lot of times people don't understand what is law enforcement. They sort of put them in a separate kind of a group aspect of it.
Yeah.
In all due respect, it's the people. I mean, the laws, if you will, the laws and the guidelines, if you will, are from the people through the elected official, i.e. the mayor, who then basically put that piece together, and they're at the door at the deal, and from saying, can you do this, and put together a training package, right? Put a training package together, and then basically, okay, fine, these are the things you have to do. And they are out there, basically, they're law enforcement officers.
Yeah.
A lot of folks don't understand that. And then all of a sudden, they're by themselves, and then here they are now trying to basically get into politics. They're not politicians.
Yeah.
They're not the mayor, if you will. You got my point? We got to get it back again. Again, here we go again, saying the same thing. We need leadership.
Yeah.
And the mayor's going to have to step up. I mean,
here's the interesting thing about law enforcement in these far left cities. Okay, people ask me all the time because I support the police. I support good police, right? Especially the guys in the street level. But people ask me that all the time because, especially, there's a lot of people who are libertarians who despise the police, and they ask me, why is it, Joey, if you're all for freedom, why do you support the police? Listen, the police, the law enforcement at a local level is the only thing between us and anarchy right now.
That's right.
It's the only thing enforcing law and order.
That's right.
If we don't have these men who are willing to risk their lives, to enforce the law, we're going to go to anarchy, and what's going to happen is that means the federal government's going to have to come in. And so now we have a federal law enforcement agency which will be harder to keep accountable. Right. If we have a local police officers who live in your neighborhoods, who are from your city, from your neighborhood. It's a smaller it's a smaller system, right? It's so if there's any corruption, it's easier to attack.
Yeah.
It's easier to expose.
Yeah.
But if it's nationwide, you know, then you're gonna have one force policing the entire country, and that's too powerful. That's too big. That's why people don't understand. That's why we need to respect the law enforcement, and we need to make sure the morale is high. And one of the best ways to keep morale high in the law enforcement is you make sure you get rid of every single corrupt officer. Police officers need to stop protecting corrupt officers because they're giving bad names for everybody else. One bad police officer, if he's corrupt and you're protecting him, then the whole police department's corrupt, basically. So I think that's the thing is we need to not, you know, paint them all as racist, all as hateful or whatever. You got to treat each individual, each officer differently based off of the actions that they make.
But it still comes right back down to leadership.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, we hired, if you will, the mayor through an election process. That's exactly how we do it. But the fact that you got to do the job. So the key is that how you do that. Again, you got to run for office. That's what I'm saying.
The police commissioner should also be an elected position.
Yes.
It's not good that the mayor, who's supposed to be the mayor, is also controlling the police because he turns into their political pawns to him.
Well, somebody's got to be responsible. We'll agree to that.
Yeah.
There's 5 people, like you said. If we elect another for that, but my point is that the way it's laid out in terms of the guidelines, whoever is the commissioner, if you will, is supposed to be the leader. But at the end of the day, it's the mayor that is basically our form of government here right now. It's the 3 votes aspect of it. But still, whoever gets appointed that position has to be the leadership, well known, if you will, from a police standpoint. You don't go out and try to hire someone outside of the city.
Right.
You got my point? And I got a lot of respect for the young lady that's said there now aspect there, but she has no leadership, if you hear what I'm saying. My point. I'm talking about outlaw.
Oh, outlaw, yeah.
She's just there. You got my point?
She's just another pawn, though, for Wheeler.
For Wheeler.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
And we know if she had things her way, Antifa wouldn't even exist.
That's
Did you see the Lars Larson interview she did?
Hey. Yes.
She went off on Antifa.
Yes, she did.
And she was upset because Antifa's calling her racist, white supremacist, blah, 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 blah. And she's upset that she was enforcing the law at one of my rallies because they were breaking the law. They refused to leave an area they weren't supposed to be. So they're not going to leave. So they force them out, and now everyone starts crying. And she said that to Lars Larson. And so I think that Outlaw, I don't think Outlaw would ever, she probably doesn't like me and what we do, but I definitely think she likes law and order. Well, I definitely think if she had her way, Antifa wouldn't even exist.
She understands the definition of law enforcement.
Yeah.
She's she understands it.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? And if she's chief of police aspect of it, you know, she works under the auspices of the mayor aspect of it, but she's chief of police. She knows who the troops are. You know, the old military kind of a deal, the chain of command. She understands that. But if she can't do her job, you know, like now, in all due respect, it's a divide. You got Daryl Turner, who's a union person. He's kind of like dealing with the folks there. You got my point? Like he's the chief, so to speak. And then after he's forced now to respond politically now,
right?
Which that's not his job. Right. That's not what he does. You got my point? He should be basically doing one thing, like a first sergeant, running those troops, making sure that they're doing the job right. Right. Doing the job, doing that law enforcement, and doing it correctly, and making sure that there's nothing, no bad cops or whatever, blah 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 routine in those ranks aspect of it. And then, i.e., when it goes up to the next step, i.e., the commanding officer, so to speak, which would be the chief, right? Yeah. You get the chief, then the chief basically said, okay, fine, you ultimately respond and communicates to the mayor, who then communicates to us. We're interested in one thing. I want law enforcement. Yeah. All that other stuff about time coming to the job and doing this, that, and the other, you know. So anyway, any good lasting thing? We got about another 5 minutes, but I want to make sure we get all the goodies on the table here. Where do we go from here now? Are you still thinking?
You certainly have spoken well for yourself. I would just ask, who is this that you're going to interview? And you couldn't have done a better job. I said, all I know is he's a good man. And so you've done very well to explain. So if you want to go ahead and tell just a little bit more. You've only got 5 minutes.
We're going to get you on Richard's show, because I think this is key, if you will, to maybe solving some of the problems. Educate the people about who you are. There's nothing wrong with that. You know my point? And then I'm inviting, if you will, you know, if someone will stand up from Antifa and says, I'm the leader, come on the show. come on the show. You can come on the show and see.
They're too afraid because they don't
It'll
want to be
be an
targeted by
empty
law
chair.
enforcement.
Yeah, that's right. See, but right now I'm going to basically look at Joe Walsh as being the leader. You see what I'm saying? I'm going to say Joe. You see where I'm coming
He's
from.
not the leader.
But I'm starting up, Joe.
Joe's controlled by other people.
Yeah.
He doesn't. If he was the leader, then he wouldn't be afraid to sit down and debate me.
Yep.
But there's something else I want people to understand. This is something that's very important. You know, people can criticize me from a million different things or whatever, but everyone understands that one of the unique things that's different about me is that I am courageous and I don't care what's going to happen to me. I'm just going to do what I believe in. And so I get that question a lot, and I just want anyone watching this to be honest with you. The truth is it's my faith in God. That's it. Whether that even if you're an atheist, still look at this for a second. My faith in God is so certain and so strong that I know that any day I could be murdered, I could be stabbed or whatever. But if that happens, it happens. They come after me all the time, and they slander my name all the time, and it's not easy taking the hate. But I feel like I've been protected. I will continue to be protected, and I'll continue to do the things I do because of my faith in God, and that's what motivates me. That's what drives me, 100%. That's why I do these things. And so I think that I hope that people really consider that and understand that where I'm coming from.
We do, and I'm sure that the viewing audience is going to do it. And we're going to make sure we get this out. You got me? And then when you see it, it's on YouTube.
Yeah.
Blast it out.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Please blast it out to the whole deal.
Oh.
And we're going to definitely have you on.
All right.
It's kind of really, in all due respect, I think the more you can sit down and express yourself, the better off you are. And better off for all. We all are. I mean, and if anybody want to join your group, they can do that with respect. But saying to the other folks, hey, look, if you're having some hard times trying to relate to the subject matter that we're talking today, hey, I'll give you a chance to talk. I mean, just spill it out. What's the problem? Are you out of work? Are you pissed off at this? Are you pissed off at that? That's the only way you're going to get to the next step, right?
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, good. So this last 2 minutes, what are we going to run? I'm going right back to the table. I'm coming right back to the table here. You ran for Senate. Are you maybe consider running? Maybe you ought to come to Portland and run.
No.
We're gonna have seats for the city hall.
I have a better chance of winning president of the United States.
Yeah, I heard I heard that, and I've been there so many times. You know what I'm saying?
I'll tell you this much: right now, we have these gun laws that are really bad right now in Washington State. And what I've been doing is I've been going around county to county, getting people worked up and fired up to pressure their city council members and board members to pass a constitutional ordinance, which basically states it's illegal for any city official, county official, law enforcement, or any funds to go to enforcing any unconstitutional laws, including that of Initiative 1639, which just passed.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And the thing I've been thinking about is now I've basically been running a statewide campaign to do this, and I can get 200 to 300 people to show up in a small city in the middle of nowhere because they're so passionate about gun rights. And 2020 coming up, I've been thinking I don't really want to run, but I am considering running off of gun rights. Run for governor and go around around the state and kind of just go from there. But
at least the media will recognize what you're saying.
Yeah.
If you're running, if you're not running, then you're just an activist. You're
right.
As they list, you're here.
Yeah.
Right? You got my point. That's the key point, and I want to make sure you recognize that point.
Yeah.
Because it's not white supremacist. You're senator so and so. You're running for representative, or this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
You got my point.
Yep.
Very important. Very important.
Yeah. And the media eats it up. They love it.
Oh,
when I was running for Senate, they loved it.
Oh yes.
Even if they hated me, they
That's
loved
right.
it.
They got to.
U.S. senatorial candidate starts a riot
They
in
were
Portland.
trained. They were trained. See, they understand that deal. Well, we got about 35 seconds.
And
What do
we
you think,
want to
Rich?
thank our crew.
Yes, thank our crew. I mean, they did an excellent job, and we're going to do
right.
more than that. Okay, fine. Sounds good. Well, look, folks, I hope you and send this out to folks. I mean, really, when you get this deal on YouTube, it's on YouTube. Send it out, blast it out. And if you got any comments, you can do that from the show aspect of it. Comment. You got me? And get to if you're Antifa, get together with your leader and tell them to give me a call. You got my phone number up there, 503-701-0457. Not afraid of anything. Give me a call. Say, have a good one. I'll see you next week. Take care. Gentlemen.